There is a room you've never been invited into. It has no address, no sign on the door, no membership card. But it exists. It always has. And the people inside that room, they know something you don't. Not a secret whispered behind closed doors, not forgotten knowledge hidden in ancient books. Something far more practical. A different way of seeing. A different way of reading the world. While most people spend their entire lives reacting to what happens on the surface, they've learned to see what lies underneath. The hidden motives, the silent negotiations, the invisible forces shaping every conversation, every relationship, and every opportunity. Most people never stop long enough to look beneath the surface. Today, you will. And before we go any further, if this is the kind of content that challenges the way you think, take a second to like this video. It tells the algorithm to share it with more people who are ready to see the world differently. And if you haven't already, subscribe. Every week we go deeper into psychology, strategy, history, power, and the timeless principles that separate those who react from those who understand. Now, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I always enjoy seeing how far this community reaches. Now here's my warning. What you're about to hear isn't comfortable. It isn't designed to restore your faith in people. It isn't designed to make the world feel safer. It's designed to make you much harder to fool. Because throughout history, kings, generals, empire builders, business leaders, and the quiet architects of influence all understood a small number of patterns that most people never notice. Patterns of power, patterns of human behavior, patterns that quietly shape every decision people make. Today, we're going to explore 6 of those patterns. 6 codes that schools rarely teach. 6 codes that most people go their entire lives without recognizing. And 6 codes that can completely change the way you read every room, every relationship, and every decision you'll ever make. But there is a cost. Once you begin seeing these patterns, you can't unsee them. You'll walk into meetings differently. You'll listen differently. You'll trust differently. You'll stop reacting to appearances and start paying attention to intentions. You'll become the person who quietly understands what's really happening, while everyone else is still focused on the obvious. If you're ready, let's begin. Code 1. Loyalty is a currency, not a virtue. In the 14th century, the Mali Empire stretched across vast regions of Africa. At its center stood Mansa Musa, a ruler remembered as one of the wealthiest people in history. His famous pilgrimage to Mecca carried so much gold that parts of Egypt felt the economic effects for years afterward. Most people remember his extraordinary wealth, but wealth alone didn't make him powerful. His real strength came from understanding people. He knew something that history has repeated again and again. Loyalty is rarely free. Sometimes people remain loyal because you protect them. Sometimes because you create opportunity. Sometimes because you offer influence, status, security, or access. The reason changes, but one thing stays the same. There is almost always an exchange taking place. That's the first code. Loyalty isn't simply a virtue. It's a currency. Like every currency, it keeps its value only while both sides believe the exchange is worthwhile. Think about the people who once promised they'd always stand beside you. How many quietly disappeared when your circumstances changed? When your position changed? When the money disappeared? When your influence faded? Were they pretending from the beginning? Maybe. But often, they were simply responding to changing incentives. The relationship no longer offered the value it once did. Most people see loyalty as a permanent personality trait. Powerful people don't. They understand that loyalty usually follows value. That's why they don't rely on blind trust. They build relationships where remaining loyal is the smartest decision for everyone involved. Not because people are forced to stay, but because staying continues to make sense. That changes the question completely. Instead of asking, "Are they loyal to me?" ask, "What makes staying with me valuable? And what would it cost them to leave?" The answer predicts behavior far more accurately than emotion ever will. Because people usually protect what benefits them, and they usually walk away from what no longer does. Once you understand that, you stop being surprised by human behavior. You stop assuming. You start observing. But here's where things become even more interesting. Even if you understand why people stay or why they leave, you'll still miss what's really happening if you only listen to what people say. Because loyalty is only one piece of the puzzle. Every conversation has another conversation happening beneath it. Every meeting has another meeting taking place below the surface. Every room has an invisible layer that determines what actually happens. And once you learn to see that, you'll never walk into a room the same way again. That's where the second code begins. Code 2. Every room has a hidden agenda. Every room you've ever entered had two conversations happening at exactly the same time. The first was obvious. You could hear it. People introduced themselves, shared ideas, asked questions, made jokes, presented plans. Everything appeared open and straightforward. But beneath that conversation, another one was unfolding. A silent conversation, one that almost nobody talks about. Because while words fill the room, motives move it. This is the hidden agenda, and it exists everywhere. Not because everyone is secretly plotting against you, but because every person enters a room carrying invisible priorities, ambitions, fears, needs, pressures, personal interests. The person speaking isn't just speaking, they're trying to achieve something. The person staying quiet isn't just quiet. They're waiting, watching, calculating. Most people only hear the words. The people who understand power learn to read the intention behind them. Watch closely the next time you're in an important meeting. Who speaks first? Who interrupts without hesitation? Who waits until everyone else is finished before saying a single sentence that changes the entire direction of the conversation? Whose opinion carries weight? Whose opinion disappears into silence? Which topics are discussed with confidence, and which ones make the room suddenly uncomfortable? Those moments reveal more than any speech ever could. History is filled with leaders who mastered this skill. Queen Amina of Cetshwayo ruled during a time when power was dominated by men. Yet she expanded her kingdom, strengthened trade, and became one of the greatest military leaders in West African history. She understood that words alone could never be trusted. An offer of friendship might actually be a search for influence. A promise of peace might simply be preparation for advantage. An alliance might only last as long as it remained profitable. She learned to separate what people said from what people wanted. And that difference changed everything. The same principle exists today. Imagine sitting in a boardroom. Someone suddenly objects to a proposal. On the surface, they're worried about the company's future. But beneath the surface, they may be protecting their department, their budget, their authority, or their own career. The words sound noble. The motive is self-preservation. Think about negotiations. Someone says, "I just need a little more time." Maybe they do. Or maybe they're waiting for your position to weaken. Maybe they're hoping pressure will force you into a better deal. The request sounds reasonable. The strategy remains invisible. Even in relationships, the pattern repeats itself. Someone says, "I'm fine," Yet everything about their body language says otherwise. Sometimes silence carries more truth than words ever will. That's why powerful observers ask different questions. Not, what did they say, but what do they want? What are they protecting? What aren't they saying? And who benefits if I believe exactly what I'm hearing? Those questions expose the architecture beneath every conversation. Here's a habit that can completely change the way you understand people. The next time you enter any room, don't rush to speak. Observe first. Ask yourself 3 simple questions. What does each person here want? What is each person afraid of losing? And whose interests are being protected by what's not being said? You don't need perfect answers. You simply need to start looking. Because once you begin searching for motives instead of messages, patterns begin to appear everywhere. You'll notice tension before arguments begin. You'll recognize opportunities before they're announced. You'll see alliances forming long before anyone says they're allies. You'll stop reacting to conversations and start anticipating outcomes. That's where real influence begins. But reading hidden agendas creates another question. If everyone has motives, who actually has the power to shape the outcome? Most people assume it's the loudest person, the one demanding attention, the one constantly reminding everyone of their importance. History suggests something very different. Again and again, the people with the greatest influence were often the ones who spoke the least. Because real power rarely needs to introduce itself. And that's exactly where the 3rd code begins. Code 3. Power never announces itself. Think about the loudest person you've ever met, the one who constantly talked about the future, the one with endless plans, endless promises, endless ambition. Every conversation became another opportunity to remind everyone how successful they were about to become. Now ask yourself, where are they today? In many cases, exactly where they were when they started talking. Because noise is not power. Noise is often the performance of someone who wants to appear powerful. Real power doesn't ask to be noticed. It doesn't need constant validation. It doesn't need applause. It simply produces results. History has demonstrated this over and over again. In 1879, one of the greatest military upsets ever recorded took place at the Battle of Isandlwana. The British Empire arrived with superior weapons, modern rifles, artillery, professional soldiers, an army backed by one of the most powerful empires on Earth. On paper, the outcome looked inevitable. But battles aren't won on paper. They're won through preparation, discipline, timing, and understanding your opponent better than they understand you. The Zulu army under King Cetshwayo moved with remarkable coordination. Thousands of warriors advanced across difficult terrain without announcing their intentions, without revealing their strategy, without drawing unnecessary attention. By the time the British realized what was happening, the encirclement was already complete. The battle had effectively been decided before many understood they were losing. They had been watching the obvious, while the decisive movements happened somewhere else. That's the 3rd code. Real power rarely announces itself. It reveals itself through outcomes. Look at the most influential person you've ever worked with. Chances are, they weren't the loudest person in the room. They didn't constantly remind everyone of their authority. They didn't explain every decision. They simply made decisions, and people adjusted accordingly. That's what genuine influence looks like. It doesn't need to convince. It doesn't need to perform. It simply changes reality. Now compare that to someone who announces every new idea, every future business, every investment, every goal, every opportunity, before anything has actually been built. At first, it feels exciting. Sharing plans creates enthusiasm. People offer encouragement, compliments, attention. But something unexpected also happens. The moment you announce your strategy, you create expectations. You give competitors information. You invite unnecessary opinions, and sometimes you satisfy your mind with the feeling of progress before any real progress has been made. Talking about success can become a substitute for creating it. That's a dangerous trap, because the world rewards finished work, not unfinished announcements. Imagine if every architect revealed every blueprint before laying the foundation. Imagine if every chess player explained every move before making it. Imagine if every general announced the attack before the battle began. The advantage would disappear immediately. The same is true in business, in leadership, and in life. Stop feeling the need to explain everything you're building. Stop announcing every next move. Let your work remain quiet while it grows. Then, let your results do the talking. When success arrives, it won't need an introduction. People will see it for themselves. Remember this: the strongest tree in the forest makes no sound while it's growing. The deepest river doesn't announce its depth. The rising sun never asks permission to rise. Nature teaches the same lesson again and again. The greatest forces move with quiet certainty, not loud performance. Build that kind of strength. Move with patience, move with discipline, move with purpose. And let people discover your success instead of hearing about it. But moving quietly creates another challenge. The less people know about your plans, the more they'll search for another way to understand you. They'll look for your weaknesses, your fears, your pressure points. And if you hand those to them willingly, silence alone won't protect you. Which brings us to the fourth code. Code 4. Weakness is information. There comes a moment in almost every relationship when someone feels safe enough to reveal something deeply personal. A fear, a financial struggle, a painful mistake, a private insecurity, a dream they haven't achieved. In that moment, it feels harmless. The conversation is warm, the trust feels genuine, the other person seems supportive. So the walls come down, and for a while, nothing happens. The information simply sits there, quiet, almost forgotten. Until the day circumstances change. The friendship becomes a competition. The partnership turns into a negotiation. A disagreement begins, or interests stop aligning. Suddenly, the very thing you shared in confidence becomes the easiest place to attack. Not always because people are cruel, but because information creates leverage, and leverage changes behavior. That's the fourth code. Weakness is information, and information is power. In the right hands, it builds trust. In the wrong hands, it becomes a weapon. This doesn't mean you should never be vulnerable. Far from it. Some relationships deserve complete honesty. The people who have stood beside you through failure, who have remained loyal when they had every reason to leave, who have earned your trust through years of consistency, those people are priceless. Real trust is one of life's greatest gifts, but genuine trust is also rare. The mistake isn't being honest. The mistake is assuming everyone deserves access to your inner world. Imagine walking into an important negotiation. Before the discussion even begins, you admit, "I really need this deal." In that single sentence, you've shifted the balance of power. The other side now knows you're under pressure. They know time is working against you. They know exactly how hard they can push. Nothing else needs to be said. Or imagine telling a business partner that you're running out of money. Now they understand your urgency. Every delay becomes more painful for you than it is for them. Without realizing it, you've revealed the very pressure point they'll negotiate around. History and traditional wisdom have always understood this principle. An old Yoruba saying teaches that a wise person does not expose every wound to every passerby, because not everyone who sees your wound intends to heal it. Some are simply learning where you're easiest to hurt. That's why emotional discipline matters, not because you're pretending to be strong, but because wisdom knows the difference between transparency and exposure. There is a time to speak, and there is a time to remain silent. There is a person who deserves your truth, and there are people who haven't earned it. Learn the difference. Work on your weaknesses. Face them honestly. Seek advice from people who have proven themselves, but don't confuse public disclosure with personal growth. They are not the same thing. Your struggles deserve attention. They don't deserve an audience. Strength isn't pretending you have no fears. Strength is refusing to let your fears make decisions for you. Strength is choosing carefully who gets access to the parts of you that are still healing. Because once information leaves your mouth, you no longer control where it travels, or how it may one day be used. Protect your peace. Protect your confidence. Protect your future, not through deception, but through discipline. The strongest people are rarely the ones who reveal everything. They're the ones who understand that silence can also be wisdom. But protecting yourself from individuals is only part of the picture. Because even if you master relationships, even if you learn to read people, even if you move quietly and guard your vulnerabilities, there is still something much larger shaping your life every single day. A system. A system most people trust without ever truly understanding. And unless you learn how that system actually works, you'll spend your life playing by rules that were never written for your benefit. That's where the fifth code begins. Code 5. The system was built to contain you, not protect you. This is the code that makes many people uncomfortable, not because it's the most extreme, but because it challenges one of the oldest assumptions we've been taught. Work hard, follow the rules, be patient, do the right thing, and eventually, the system will reward you. There's truth in that. Rules create order, laws reduce chaos, institutions provide stability. Without them, society couldn't function. But here's the mistake. Many people assume the system was built primarily to help them succeed. It wasn't. Every system is designed first to preserve itself. Schools are designed to educate populations. Governments are designed to maintain order. Businesses are designed to generate profit. Financial institutions are designed to manage capital. Each system serves a purpose, but that purpose is rarely centered on your individual ambitions. Once you understand that, something changes. You stop asking, why isn't the system working for me? And you start asking, how does the system actually work? That's the question that changes lives. Because the people who consistently succeed aren't always the ones working the hardest. Very often, they're the ones who understand the mechanics everyone else ignores. Think about money. Most people earn it, spend it, save a little, and repeat that cycle for decades. Meanwhile, others study taxation, investment, ownership, business structures, assets, cash flow. The same economy exists for everyone, but not everyone is playing the same game inside it. Knowledge changes the outcome. The same principle applies to careers. Many people believe promotions are based entirely on talent. Talent matters. Hard work matters. But so do visibility, relationships, timing, reputation, communication, strategic positioning. Two people can work equally hard, yet one moves ahead while the other stays exactly where they started. The difference often isn't effort, it's understanding. History has always rewarded people who learned how systems operate beneath the surface. The greatest builders didn't wait for perfect conditions. They studied the rules, found the gaps, and built where others never thought to look. That's the fifth code. Stop expecting every system to reward you simply because you followed every instruction. Instead, study it. Ask better questions. Who benefits? Who makes the decisions? What incentives drive those decisions? Where are the opportunities hiding? Every system has constraints, but every system also has openings. Most people never find them because they're too busy walking the same path as everyone else. The people who create extraordinary results rarely see the world the way they're told to see it. They see it the way it actually works. That doesn't mean breaking the rules. It means understanding them better than the average person. Because understanding creates options, and options create freedom. Complaining about the system rarely changes it. Understanding the system changes how you move within it. That's a very different kind of power. Study the mechanics. Understand the incentives. Find the leverage points. Build patiently. Build intelligently. And let strategy accomplish what frustration never could. But here's the final piece of the puzzle. You can understand loyalty. You can read hidden agendas. You can move quietly, protect your weaknesses, even understand the system itself, and still fail. Because none of that matters if you never decide to act. Knowledge without action becomes another form of comfort, another excuse to stay exactly where you are. Which leads us to the final code. The code that ties everything together. Code 6. You are either playing the game or being played by it. There's a certain kind of person who loves content like this. They watch the videos, read the books, listen to the podcasts, take notes, highlight the best ideas. For a moment, everything makes sense. Then they close the video and nothing changes. Not because the ideas were wrong, but because knowledge without action changes nothing. Understanding strategy is not the same as living it. Many become students of strategy. Very few become practitioners. Imagine someone who spends years studying maps. They know every road, every shortcut, every mountain. They can explain every route perfectly, but they've never taken the journey. The map is accurate, yet the destination is never reached. Life works the same way. Ideas only become power when they are applied. History teaches the same lesson. Across West Africa, many successful trade networks relied on silent partners. They weren't silent because they lacked influence. They quietly owned major stakes, guided important decisions, and shaped entire ventures from behind the scenes. Their names weren't always visible. Their power came from position, not recognition. They understood a timeless truth. You don't have to be the loudest person to shape the outcome. You simply have to understand the game. Now, consider the opposite mindset. Some proudly say, "I don't play politics. I just work hard. I stay out of competition." It sounds admirable, but while you're refusing to play, someone else is building relationships. Someone else is influencing decisions. Someone else is shaping opinions. Someone else is creating opportunities that will eventually affect your future. The game doesn't disappear because you ignore it. It simply continues without your participation. And when that happens, you're no longer making moves. You're being moved. The moment you accepted a job, started a business, joined an industry, entered a partnership, or became part of any community with competing interests, you stepped onto the board, whether you realized it or not. That's the sixth code. You are already in the game. The only question is, are you making deliberate moves or allowing others to make them for you? Being a player doesn't mean manipulating people. It doesn't mean abandoning your values. It means becoming intentional, thinking ahead, reading situations carefully, preparing before opportunities arrive, building relationships before you need them, creating options instead of waiting for permission, and accepting responsibility for your position, because no one else is coming to play the game for you. Your future won't be shaped by hard work alone. It will also be shaped by how well you understand people, how wisely you position yourself, and how intentionally you navigate the world around you. You now recognize transactional loyalty. You can spot hidden agendas. You understand that real power often moves quietly. You know why your vulnerabilities deserve protection, and you can see systems for what they are, not what you wish they were. Now only one question remains. What will you do with that knowledge? Will you remain a spectator or step forward, read the board, make your move, and begin living with purpose instead of chance? Because the game has already begun, and every decision you make from this moment forward is your next move. Before you leave, remember this. These 6 codes were never about becoming ruthless. They were never about manipulating people. And they were never about seeing enemies everywhere you look. They were about replacing illusion with clarity. Because the greatest advantage anyone can possess isn't more money. It isn't more status. It isn't even more power. It's seeing reality for what it is. When you understand loyalty, you stop being surprised by human behavior. When you recognize hidden agendas, you stop being controlled by appearances. When you move quietly, your results begin speaking louder than your promises ever could. When you protect your vulnerabilities, you stop giving other people unnecessary leverage over your future. When you understand how systems really work, you stop waiting for permission and start creating opportunities. And when you finally decide to become a player instead of a piece, everything changes. Not overnight, but permanently. You'll notice things you never noticed before. You'll make decisions with greater confidence. You'll choose your relationships more carefully. You'll protect your time more intentionally. You'll stop reacting to every distraction and begin focusing on what truly matters. Most importantly, you'll stop living according to stories that were handed to you and start living according to reality. Because reality doesn't care what we wish were true. It rewards those who understand it. That's what these 6 codes have always been about. Not fear, not manipulation. Awareness, discipline, strategy, and clarity. Clarity that allows you to build instead of merely survive, to lead instead of follow, to think instead of react, to move with purpose instead of drifting wherever circumstances happen to take you. The world doesn't need more people chasing attention. It needs more people who can think clearly when everyone else is overwhelmed by noise. People who stay calm under pressure. People who recognize patterns before they become problems. People who create value instead of waiting for opportunity. Those are the people who quietly change their families, their businesses, their communities, and eventually, history itself. Now the decision belongs to you. You can close this video, forget everything you've heard, and continue living exactly as before. Or you can begin applying these ideas one decision at a time, one conversation at a time, one relationship at a time. Because that's how transformation happens. Not through one dramatic moment, but through hundreds of quiet decisions that gradually reshape the direction of your life. If you've stayed with me until this point, I want you to write one sentence in the comments. I have the codes, not for me, for yourself. As a reminder that from this moment forward, you'll choose awareness over assumption, strategy over impulse, clarity over illusion. And if this video changed the way you see the world, take a second to leave a like. It helps this message reach someone else who's ready to hear it. If you're not already subscribed, join us. Every week we explore the psychology of power, human behavior, strategic thinking, and the timeless principles history has been teaching us all along. This channel isn't for everyone. It never was. It's for people who are willing to question the obvious, study what others ignore, and build a life based on understanding instead of assumption. The next video goes even deeper. Don't miss it, because once you learn to see the world clearly, there's no going back. Welcome to the other side. Welcome to seeing clearly. It may not always be comfortable, but it will always be powerful.